And there's been a lot of talk about stimulus, whether the current package is working, if the country needs another one. Well, to weigh in on this prospect is Mark Zandi, chief economist and founder of Moody's.com. He joins us from Capitol Hill in Washington, where he just updated Congress about the pretty precarious state of the nation's manufacturing sector. Mr. Zandi, welcome.
Thank you.
You talked about the manufacturing sector, which is the worst performing sector in this recession, aside from housing. What advice do you give to policymakers to reverse the decline?
Well, I think the key lies in the housing market and in the vehicle market. Anything the policymakers can do to support vehicle sales and home sales will help those two industries and, by extension, manufacturing. So a tax credit for home buyers, that's part of the current fiscal stimulus. I think that will be helpful, and if it's expanded or extended, that could be useful into next year. And, of course, cash for clunkers, that's the legislation that was just passed and will help to support vehicle sales later this year. It's also important. It may also, we might find that it would be good to extend and expand that. So those things would be, I think, very helpful to getting manufacturing back on firmer ground.
Okay, so those are some ideas to get manufacturing back on firmer ground. But we also have to talk about the stimulus plan. A lot of debate over whether it's large enough, whether it was efficiently designed. How do you rate its effectiveness?
Well, I think it's pretty good. If I were king for a day or a week back at the beginning of the year, I would have made the package bigger, and I would have made it bigger with more tax cuts, just to make sure that we get out of this recession and into a self-sustaining economic expansion. But given the political realities and the need to get the package through Congress quickly, I think it was a reasonably good-sized package, reasonably well-designed, and I think it is working, and we'll see more signs of that later this year into next.
Okay, and although another stimulus package is unlikely, what form would you think it should take if there were to be one? You say more tax cuts?
Well, it's very possible that we'll get to the end of this year, and even though the economy is growing, it's not growing fast enough, or it doesn't feel like the economy is entering into a self-sustaining economic expansion, so it may need more help. I wouldn't rule that out. If it did more need help, it would be things like giving more help to hard-pressed state governments, whose budget woes we all know about, and they're probably going to be even worse next year. Giving more help to unemployed workers, because many of them have been unemployed for a long period of time and will run out of benefits. And nothing is more debilitating to confidence than watching your neighbor lose their job and then lose their benefits. And then, perhaps even another temporary tax cut, a payroll tax holiday would be, I think, could be therapeutic towards the end of 2010.
All right. Well, another thing that's debilitating to confidence is nervousness over CIT, which is scrambling to get financing right now. Talks between CIT and the government have ended, of course, without that rescue package in place. Do you think the government made the right call there?
Well, I think so. They have a delicate balance. They don't want to bail out institutions that are not going to cause problems for the broader financial system and the broader economy. We can't bail out everybody, and it's not appropriate to do so. But it clearly is a risk because there are a lot of retailers, a lot of manufacturers who rely on lending from CIT. So it is a bit of a gamble, but I think at the end of the day, a reasonably good gamble. But, it is interesting, important, that they're willing to take this chance at this point in time. It does suggest that they feel, Treasury, the FDIC, other regulators, administration feel that conditions are much more stable and that the economy and financial system can digest a CIT failure.
All right. Mark Zandi, who testified on Capitol Hill today regarding the manufacturing sector and what policymakers can do. Thank you so much for giving us your insight.